I'm not even excited anymore. This isn't fun anymore.
It seemed like a good idea at the time.
Okay, well, hopefully some people will pop in.
Let's see what
why does YouTube suck so hard?
Hey.
Why does YouTube suck?
We're getting sound.
Oh yeah, we're getting sound through here. And that's going to create a crazy feedback loop if you leave it there. So
that's why I'm not going to leave it
there. All right. Well,
somebody should come up with an alternative.
Sorry, guys. But we are back. We are here. So, but apparently these mics, these wonderful, beautiful mics that we have, are completely worthless. So
produce such great sound quality.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe
I'm still wearing them.
I don't know why YouTube wasn't accepting sound from them, but here we are. So to anybody who was waiting around, I'm sorry about the wait, but here we are. So we were saying earlier we were going to wait a few minutes for other people who may have wanted to join up. Well, it's been a few minutes now, but maybe we can just dive right in. Ken, what do we want to talk about today?
We want to talk about the fact that it's been 5 years. That's why we're here.
Okay.
Also, talking about Alita, Battle Angel.
Sure.
We're going to talk a little bit about the Tolkien trilogy, or trailer.
Trailer.
Which I saw ahead of Alita, Battle Angel. And we want to read some fan mail, or some fan hate mail, as it were.
I'm actually really looking forward to that one.
Yeah. And a few other things, whatever comes our way. Plus, we want to answer some Reddit questions.
Oh, sure. Yeah, we've got a few Reddit questions. So the Tolkien trailer, let's talk about that one first, because the Tolkien trailer, it came out on YouTube, and then I saw it on the big screen as well when I saw Alita. Everybody I know who knows me and knows how much I love Tolkien is saying that that they think, like, they predict that I'm not excited for it.
Right.
I actually really am. I think the trailer looks pretty cool. They're doing something creative and interesting, and it looks like it's not going to be a super boring biopic like you sometimes get.
It's the way they interweave. It looks like they interweave inspiration for his stories and make that exciting kind of go into his mind. This is the way I take it. Having just seen it, they go into his mind, see what this is the imagery he saw that inspired the books, that sort of thing. Which honestly, if you tell just a biopic, could be rather boring.
Yeah.
So it's an inventive way to jazz it up. Personally, I'm excited for this Tolkien movie. After I walked out of that, I walked away from that trailer thinking I'm more excited for Tolkien's story than I am for Tolkien's stories. Which
okay.
If anybody's listened to us for a measurable number of time, they know that I'm not the biggest Tolkien fan, and I'm not a hater by any means. I don't get into the Tolkien books, and that's fine. But I'm very excited about his story.
People we'll get to the hate mail in a while, but they're like, Craig, why do you got to be such a jerk? Well, it's because people have opinions like that. I don't have a choice. I don't have a choice. I have to stay true to not just who I am, but the truth,
right,
as it exists.
It's okay. So, I accept the fact that I can be wrong and still move on.
So there's probably not much more to say about it, honestly.
It was only 60 seconds. It gives you a taste.
Nicholas Hoult is great.
Comes out in 3 months,
great.
2 months, whatever.
I did see one. There was a post on, might have been Tor.com, and this post on Tor kind of like went through each little detail of the trailer, and there's like, here's why it's going to be amazing, and it obviously references Edith dancing in the woods and all this, and they like, but then they would go into even more detail about how this references this thing, and how, this is why Tolkien fans should be so excited. And it was kind of a laborious blog post, but it was like #content. So I guess it's fine. It's excusable. But I kind of felt like, it could go either way. I'm excited for it just because if there's anybody, that'll question, like, if you could invite anybody to dinner, living or dead, would it be Tolkien is that guy for me?
Sure.
Like, no doubt about it. So
I'm
Very
down.
cool. KangTube says, "Thanks, Legendary. Very
Yeah.
cool. Have you?
Hey, it's going
Is that a
little
reference?
far, but
Is that a reference to Red Letter Media? If so, you and I are now great friends. If it's not, then you ought to look up Red Letter Media and watch. Have you seen their fake podcast? It's called The Nerd Crew.
I have not.
Oh, it's
I'm
fantastic.
looking it up immediately after this.
So, thumbs up. Yes. All right. Another Red Letter Media fan. Very cool.
Very cool.
Okay. So you went and saw Alita yesterday.
I did.
Did you like it? And is that because you're a filthy, dirty old man?
Alita Battle Angel.
You have to
I
say you
did.
didn't like it. You can't say you liked it, or else you're a dirty old man.
I liked the fact that it was similar to the way you like honeycomb, because it's a delivery vehicle to get the strawberries.
Yeah,
to your face.
strawberries and the honeycomb.
I liked Alita Battle Angel because the movie was the battle sequences were a way to get the popcorn to my mouth. I was.
You know, you can
shoveling
eat
up-
popcorn at home.
I can,
Yeah,
but I
you
don't
can
get
do that.
I don't get exploding cyborgs at home.
Oh, well, okay.
So I went in there with her and her big Disney eyes and all of that, and I thought she's really cute and her body is unreasonably feminine. That's not a sexual thing. Only because I say it seems impractical to build a cyborg that way, but a warrior cyborg. Actually, I went into it loving the battle sequences, hating the story.
I knew we shouldn't have talked about this.
No, actually, I don't.
No, okay. So
all of my points had to do with the actual story. It didn't have anything to do with
her body.
Her body.
Says KangTube. So yeah, you have to say that as lasciviously as possible.
So do you want to?
No,
We can talk about the battle stuff. The story was ridiculous.
So here's the way I think of it. You could go look up all the negative reviews, or you just talk to somebody on the street or whatever, and like, so why did Alita suck? And they give you all these reasons. The love story was unearned. The acting was bad. The dialogue was poor.
Every single one of those things is true.
Nothing makes sense. All of that is true, and yet I had a great time. And I was thinking about this because I've been comparing it a lot to Aquaman.
Yeah.
Which I hated. I hated Aquaman. It was so bad. So bad. But why did I enjoy this one and hate Aquaman? There are probably a few reasons. I think Aquaman was a little bit too self-aware, a little bit too like, look at how crappy this movie is,
Right. Right.
So I didn't love that kind of like self-aware, cynical attitude toward itself. And Alita didn't have that. Alita was at least trying to be a fun movie or whatever, an interesting movie, and it failed on most counts. But ultimately, I think what it comes down to is the actual movie-going experience. So I went and saw Alita last weekend with a friend of mine, Savvy. She's a great friend of mine, and she and I went kind of like prepared to just joke about it.
Okay.
We're talking about the crappy lines, and she's younger than me, and so she's like kind of like really getting into the cheesy teenage romance kind of CW type stuff. And so I was having great fun kind of laughing at her and laughing at the movie, and she's laughing at other stuff. And so I think because of the actual movie-going experience, I came out with more positive feelings, if that makes sense. When I went and saw Aquaman, I saw Aquaman with Ryan and Kyle and Vilya, and none of us talked through the whole movie. We all just kind of like, we're focused in because we knew we were going to have to review it afterwards. And so we were kind of laser focused, and I was really hypersensitive at that point to the gaps in the story and the stupid decisions with, was it Black Mantis?
Black Manta.
Manta, right. Manta, the sea creature, not the insect. So that might be kind of why. So let's see what other people are saying. The only thing bad, how do I say this, by the way? Zebiker.
Zib Biker.
The only bad thing about Alita was they forgot to write the ending.
That
yes,
that is one of my complaints.
There's a 3-act play, right? You got your beginning, your middle, and your end. And in this one, they go beginning middle, the end.
It's exactly. It's a beginning, middle, and it ends.
Shabikur? Shabikur? I don't know. Anyway.
Tim Selleck brings up one of my points about it, though. That considering that Alita is based off of manga, I'm just surprised that it wasn't manga. Excuse me. I'm surprised that it wasn't completely terrible, and that is true. I also went in expecting nothing from it, and was pleasantly surprised when I got something. Yep. You know, all I went in for was exploding robots. Got it, and they did it perfectly. But it left me thinking, it is hard to build a 2-hour movie out of months and years and hours of content. So they did a credible job of hitting all of the storytelling benchmarks. We have our protagonist. We have her benefactor who saves her. We've got a love story. We've got a villain. We've got, not really a villain, but another villain. And we've got all these things, and getting from here to there is awful. Mm-hmm. But you've only got 2 hours to tell all of that stuff.
There's a ton of stuff. A lot of this stuff was rushed. I remember thinking spoiler alert, by the way, if you can, don't worry, there's nothing to spoil.
If you've seen a movie, you've seen
if you've seen a movie, you've seen this movie.
Yeah.
So he finds her like core, basically her brain and her heart are in this trash dump. Takes her home, and turns out he's a cyborg doctor, so he can rebuild her.
It's convenient.
Yeah, and
she's a 13-year-old teenager or 300-year-old teenage girl.
So he rebuilds her, and then like the next scene, she wakes up. She's kind of like in bed, and she wakes up and gets up out of bed, kind of stumbles a little bit, and then goes to the mirror, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, look at my new body and all this stuff." And then she goes downstairs, and she's fine. There's no moment of, holy crap, what happened to me? I was just in the middle of this moon battle or what, and I get she had all this amnesia stuff.
Exactly.
But still, like, I kind of felt like there would be more of a freak out moment. That was just one of those little things.
Right.
Anyway, let's see. It says, I was surprised at how many beats from the manga they kept. I don't know anything about that.
I've never read it. Although this is a movie that is completely in teenage me's wheelhouse. Just because it's exploding robots and it's cyborgs and it's fighting, and it is fighting for the sense of fighting. I mean, if there's level 1, this is like level 0.75.
So here's a question for you: why do cyborgs like that wear clothes? There's like all the bounty hunters, Alita herself, everybody why?
Best I can figure is convention that society wears clothes.
Anyways,
that's the only reason.
The Alita actress was amazing. Yes, her name is.
I can't remember. She's Peruvian.
Really? Yeah. Rosa
Salazar. She's in Peru.
Yeah, she is great. I really
she
liked
did a
her.
Great job. Mm-hmm. I thought there were several. Well, anyway, we can go into a whole list of. I wrote a literal list of all the things that I went.
Okay, let's hear some.
All right. For example, Hugo's robot body. He gets a robot body, and instantly he can climb up a pulls, and he knows how to use it and everything. Yep. Jennifer Connelly's abrupt about face. It's like, okay,
unearned.
Yeah, I'm the bad guy. Unearned. I'm the bad guy, but now I remember how to be a mother, and I'm the good guy. And then all of a sudden she's, cut up her parts. But
oh shoot,
what are we looking at? What are we?
Shard of Discord says Craig and Ken on the big screen. Sensory overload.
That's us. Her first body. The fact that did Dr. Ito build a teenage body for a body for his daughter?
Yeah.
Right. Which is fine, but did he design a body for his daughter capable of doing all of these high martial art, high military tactics?
That's just Alita.
Yeah, it's just her mental. She can do it, and so therefore the body can do it, which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
But her second body, when she grows from a girl to a woman, now her second body is designed for this fighting, and she is really ready to take it, and that's fine. I get that, but the first body shouldn't have been able to do what it was able to do.
So XC Black Diamond says, I'm seeing Alita 2 out. This is on what's this thing called? Discord. This is on Discord, by the way. I'm seeing Alita 2 hours after the live stream starts.
Well,
I think go see it. Have fun. Just take your seasoned expectations, and it'll be fine.
Yeah.
Just enjoy it. It's kind of. This is not in the same league as Pacific Rim, which I love. But at a certain point, it's just like, no, I'm going to go watch robots punch monsters. And in this case, it's like, I'm going to go watch cyborgs punch each other.
Yep, that's exactly.
And you'll enjoy yourself.
You're going into.
Yeah, it's fine.
So there's a love story that's ridiculous. There's all these bait and switches that are ridiculous. But in the end, you're going to watch robots beat up other robots. That's why you're going in.
Yeah.
And you're going to watch Mahershala Ali just chew up every scene he's in. That guy, he didn't visit the craft table once during filming because he was full of scenery.
Oh my goodness. My wife and I saw it together, then took our kids to $5 Tuesday.
I would absolutely take my kids to see this. Just because
what I'm surprised by is that you saw it again. And I'm curious
I'd see it again.
What it's like on second viewing. I would see it again with somebody who I knew I was going to have a fun time with.
Sure.
And maybe your kids are qualified for that. So yeah, that's great.
I'm amazed at how much star power was in this movie for as basic as it was.
You know, there were
legitimate Oscar winners in this movie.
I was just watching, Will Smith has a YouTube channel, and it's really good. His videos are fantastic if you like Will Smith. But one of the stories he tells is doing Men in Black. So he had just finished Independence Day. Yeah. And then he was pitched Men in Black, and he wasn't going to do it. And Steven Spielberg, I believe it was, told him, "Hey, listen, don't think about this one. Use my brain, not yours. Do the movie." and that sort of thing where it's like these actors are kind of told, like, "Look, this is going to be a big hit. It's super original and fun. People are going to love it." And so they say, "Fine, yeah, that's all right." And so I have to imagine that happens sometimes with actors where they're like, "Oh, robots punching each other in a dystopian future. Is that on brand for me?"
Right.
And their agent or manager or whoever is like, "Just do the movie.
Do the movie.
Take the paycheck." So
which is understandable.
I can't fault them for that.
By the way, saw the trailer for the new Men in Black movie too. Tessa Thompson and Chris.
I love both of those.
Looks exciting. Yeah, I am very excited for that one.
Both of those actors are fantastic. Yeah. So I don't know. Is there more we want to say about Alita?
Is there more that we can say without getting in trouble?
There's a lot more I could say without getting in trouble.
Well, actually, her eyes were big in Disney. That's all I got to say.
That was a weird choice.
It was a weird choice because nobody else. There wasn't any. Even the other battle robots from 300 years ago didn't have eyes like that. It was just.
Actually, I think they did.
Did they?
Yeah.
I don't recall. But it seemed odd.
Maybe there's some explanation in the manga about how, like, with the bigger eyes, they're able to see more, to
sure,
take in more sensory input.
I would have liked something on that, by the way, a little bit more like, hey,
it's Dave from down the street.
Hey, sweet.
Dave, next time you come see us, I want to know how to pronounce this handle because I'm lost. Zebiker. Okay.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, I think we've given more than enough.
Okay. So
time to.
What should we do? Q&A stuff now?
Sure. That's why people will come.
Yeah, that's kind of. So I know we've got some Reddit questions. If you have any questions and this is like an AMA, you can ask us anything at all. Throw them in the comments, and we'll see what we can do.
It's kind of a thank you for supporting us for 5 years type.
Sure.
Thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's basically why we're here.
Although I do want to do more of these live videos if people end up liking them. So We'll see. What was I just going to say? Oh, no. Before I'll give you a minute to put some questions down there if you want to. I guess exit question would be, do we recommend that people actually see Alita?
If you're looking for story, if you're looking for good, well-constructed story, maybe look somewhere else. If you're looking for a fun time at the movies, go see it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, and if you want to see a roadmap of how to build a story without any any connection between all of those points, go see it too.
Normally I would say no, But I think a sequel could be better than this, and the movie needs to make more money. So I'm a little bit more tactical when I'm like, yeah, go see it, so that
we can get a
sequel. I think the sequel would be better.
Now, I think James Cameron has actually come out and said, box office be damned, we're making a sequel.
Yeah, well, James Cameron says all sorts of crap.
He can say that until the numbers actually roll in, and it looks like they're not rolling in quite as well as they expect.
Right. So the numbers right now, real quick, they spent 170 million, and so if you double that for
you got to double
publicity,
that for publicity and everything, yeah.
So 340 million, and they are sitting worldwide on 289 right now. Yeah. So they're pretty short, 50 million short of break even.
It's been out for 2 weeks.
No, it's been out since February 14th. So
2 weeks.
It's been a little while. Anyway, all right, let's move on.
All right.
So we've got some Reddit questions. Do you have them there, or should I pull them up?
Yeah, I got them. Okay. Should we? I mean, Shifu Juju.
Shifu Juju.
I don't think that's exactly how you pronounce it.
There's no other U. It's Shifu Juju.
Juju, but I like saying Juju.
Right. Okay. Oh, this is the lightning round.
This is the lightning round one.
Let's save the lightning round. Let's do.
Let's talk about Malazan really quick. A couple of readers have a couple of Redditors have posted on there. Fingolfin154. We're going to use his or hers. Yeah. We're not judging. It seems like for years you guys have mentioned that Malazan has always been one of the most requested series for you to cover, yet you don't seem all that eager to get to it.
Okay.
It might be a seam. Okay. Is it as simple as there are thousands of books out there and you can't cover everything? Yes. Or have a few of you tried this series and had some objections to it? As far as I can tell, it's just that.
So, and I should also give a shout out to Mixmaster Micah 55, who asked basically the same thing. Malazan, if I say pretty please.
Yep.
So to answer both of you, why haven't we done Malazan yet? Well, a few reasons. So we might actually get what is it, Night Angel? We might actually get to.
Well, what is the worst book you've read for the podcast, and why is it Night Angel? Nice.
What was I even saying? You're throwing me off here.
Dave from down the street.
We might get to this complaint later on because we've got a few complaints to address just for fun.
Sure.
And it was about the last few episodes of our Wheel of Time show, and I wasn't shy about kind of how I was feeling at the time, and I know that people picked up on it pretty easy where I was losing patience with the Wheel of Time. I think it ended well. Like, don't get me wrong. I am a fan. I really love the Wheel of Time. I'm going to reread it.
You were getting burned out.
But it was 1 month per book for 14 months.
Yeah.
And, and it just seemed like, this is never going to end.
Right.
And so I think because of that experience, it's been really hard for me especially, but I think maybe for Ryan and definitely Kyle as well.
Yeah.
And I don't know about you, to say like, okay, let's dive into a super thick 10-book series that everybody says is wildly confusing, especially at the beginning.
Right.
And, you're going to have to invest a ton of time and energy up front.
Well, and that's what a lot of the reviews pay that too.
Right.
It starts slow and gets. Yeah.
So after Wheel of Time, I was just like, I don't know if I can handle that.
Right.
But maybe that's unfair. I shouldn't let my Wheel of Time experience color the Malazan one, but there you go.
And part of it is, coming off of one big hairy series and getting into another one is just unwieldy. And frankly, most of us, I'll even Megan now, we have day jobs, and trying to read a big series and get into these other series, it's unwieldy. So it might be a situation where come 2020 we decide it's time to tackle the year of Malazan or something. We don't know. It's the same problem, by the way, that Blue Team is kind of had with the Dresden Files. It's 15 books long.
Yeah.
Or 12 books long right now. And it's got a couple of anthologies in there as well. And so we're just kind of trying to slide them in there in between series because they're fun and they're not nearly as in-depth as something like Malazan or The Wheel of Time. But reading a big, long series takes some commitment.
Yeah, for sure.
So
let's see. Shifu Juju says it was Craig's recommendation to listen to Watt at 1.5 speed that got me through it when it slowed down. Unfortunately, that cursed me, and now I listen to everything at 1.5 to 2x. So do I.
Join the club. Yeah.
There was
Every time.
Kate Redding she tweeted out something about how you do violence to the artist's choice if you speed up an audiobook, and I was like, whatever.
And I thought, you know
I don't
what?
care.
You do violence to the listener's choice.
So here's another pro tip for you. I should preface this by saying that most of the time I'm just fine. I can sit down with a book, whether it's a Kindle book or a physical book, and I can read for a couple of hours uninterrupted, and it's fine. But sometimes, you're falling asleep, your mind is getting distracted, whatever. So if you want a little hack to help you get through a book as quickly as possible, crank your speed up, way, way up. I'm talking like 3x, 3.5x. And follow along like on your Kindle or in the book itself, and it will force you to maintain speed as you read through. And so it's kind of like a weird, cheaty way to get through it. But I did that with Assassin's Quest, book 3, right? Is that book 3?
Yeah.
Whatever book 3 is, I think it's Assassin's Quest. Because I was like, I've got to crank through this. I've got to get it done before we record and all that. And so I would pause, to take notes or whatever. But that was what helped me get through it. So
really, really quick, Paper C mentions the other one that we.
Why haven't you done First Law yet? Joe Abercrombie? Or?
Yep, Joe Abercrombie. Every time we talk about Malazan, that one's not far behind, as in these are the series that you really have to do next. And that one's only 3 books. And I think Blue Team is planning to get to it after Foundation-ish. Yeah. We're kind of nebulous after. I mean, we're doing Dune now. Then Foundation comes next, and after that is First Law is on the list.
Yeah, Sean says First Law is a favorite. It's a lot of people's favorite.
A lot of people have suggested it. Said a lot of level 1 punching in there, so said I would enjoy it, and I'm looking forward to trying it out.
So what's with a few of the names on here. A few of you are longtime listeners. I recognize your handles and all that, and so I've heard what you guys have to say pretty frequently. But what might surprise you is with our email contact sheet on the website, I get emails all the time from people who maybe they just found us and they're really excited. They see that we do different book series, and so I get First Law constantly.
Yeah.
Of course, I also get Malazan constantly. I also got Night Angel constantly until we started it.
We get the Malorian a lot too. David Eddings' second series.
Yeah. I'm less eager to get to that one. I don't know why exactly. I enjoyed the Belgaria just fine.
Yeah, it was fun.
But I'm not like chomping at the bit to get to the Malorian.
Right.
Maybe we should go back and answer Dave's question though. What is the worst book you've read for the podcast, and why is it Night Angel? It's not Night Angel. It's not. If somebody wants to say I hated Night Angel, it was worthless or whatever, I'm not going to fight you on that. I don't think it was.
I had a hard time getting through Night Angel.
It was.
I gotta admit.
The first book, so I've started the second one, but I'm not very far into it yet. I think we're planning on recording that next weekend, so I'll have that done in a week or so. But with the first book, it was fine, and that's kind of how, like, as I'm looking back, that's kind of how I feel about it. It was fine. It was serviceable. It was fun for the most part, but there were a lot of nits to pick.
Yeah,
I suppose. Anyway, so it was fine.
Well, and it seemed.
But the worst book, maybe we should answer it.
Okay.
Do you have a worst one that we've read?
Honestly, I'm not sure. Let me think about it for 1 second. You go ahead and tell them why it was Robin Hobb.
I'm tempted to say Assassin's Apprentice, but I don't think that's right. Like, the question is, what is the worst book we've read? And it's not. It's just not to my taste. But is it a bad book? I don't know. I'm struggling to call it a bad book. So we've got back here, maybe I can show everybody, we've got 4 shelves back here with those top 4 shelves are all the books that we've read, or at least almost all the books that we've read for the podcast. If I were to pick one that was the worst, Crossroads of Twilight.
Crossroads of Twilight was awful. No. We've done a good job of picking books.
Yeah, we've picked some pretty good books. I will say one of the biggest disappointments was Calamity.
Yes. Yeah, and
that's book 3 of the Reckoners, series.
trilogy.
And just the ending of Calamity was kind of like,
yeah. You know, I'm hesitant to say anything negative about Lord Sanderson, but
you know, I think he can take it.
But yeah, I don't think he listens to me anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But yeah, the end of Calamity left me wanting a little bit. So
okay, so Tim says instead of worst, would it be easier to pick personal least favorite? In that case, it might be Assassin's Apprentice. Again, just not quite to my taste. I do wonder if I gave it a little bit of time and went back and reread it, if I would feel differently, kind of understanding the way that she wrote the book better in hindsight. So again, I'm having a real hard time now after the fact. At the time, as I was reading it, I was like, "Oh, this sucks! I hate this book."
Right.
But now I don't. So
it honestly, it took me some time to get into The Name of the Wind. I it was good. It was
the end of Red Rising was I assume the worst I read for you guys. Do you mean the trilogy or the book? You guys, you finish the trilogy?
We finished the trilogy. Morningstar was the last one. Yeah, Morningstar was the last one.
Don't give away the ending.
And he might be right, because I'm struggling to think of the ending right now. And if I can't remember the ending, like, oh my gosh, that was so good, then there was something probably a little bit lacking in that. I'm anxious to continue the series, though. We're hoping to do book 4 sometime, and book 5 comes out this summer.
Right on.
We're hoping to pick those both up.
Okay.
But that might not be a bad one. Who said that?
What?
Who said the end of the Red? Alex.
Yeah.
So that's a good contender for it.
Okay. Well,
the end of Red Rising itself, the first book, was fantastic.
Oh, okay. I haven't read it yet.
We're gonna get to it.
So Emily says, "How are you guys feeling about Game of Thrones season 8? Are you watching?"
I have not picked up Game of Thrones season
8. Season 8 is the last season. It's coming out this year.
Right. I know that. I know it's coming out.
Oh, Kip Dad. All right, Alex. Yes. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So Game of Thrones.
I need to get into
8.
Game of Thrones. I've read A Song of Ice and Fire. I need to get into Game of Thrones.
I'm rewatching Game of Thrones right now. I'm still actually in season 1, and so I've got a long ways to go. I will say, similar to Assassin's Apprentice, season 7. I was so pissed at season 7 as it was going on. Again, I won't give anything away for anybody who hasn't watched the show. But season 7 had some weird choices as far as like how they structured the story, and the time issues where it's like, how did you get from here to here in that amount of time? That doesn't make any sense. Right, they were just like TV, and so fantasy. It's a dragons. That's the way it works. Dragons can go Mach 3.
Exactly.
And so
the world's not really that
so
big.
There were issues like that where I was like, I was angry. Now I'm not angry. I'm excited to get back to season 7 to see if it has aged any better. As far as season 8, I am excited. I'm excited in the way, if anybody's watched The Shield. The Shield is one of my all-time favorite TV dramas, and it kind of was getting a little bit tired close to the end. And then the very end of The Shield, including like the final scene, the final episode, was off the charts perfect, and they just nailed it. And so I know it can be done. And so I have high hopes. I do have high hopes for that one.
I'll go back and check it out once it's
the
finished.
Winterfell plot in the 6th episode was really bad. Yes, I'm trying to keep this spoiler free, but the death of was so anticlimactic, and it's just like this person just dies after 6 or 7 seasons of building them up, and what are they going to do, and how are they going to make their play? Stab, you're done. Oh man, that drove me crazy.
Go scroll back up really quick. There was one.
What do you want?
Paper C asked a question where
First Law. No.
What are your in real life jobs? That's what it is.
Okay, what do you do, Ken?
Yeah.
What do you do?
That's about what I do. No, I'm technically a personal trainer / fitness instructor.
That's why your boobs are so nice.
That's right. So, That's why. Never mind. We're not going to go there. But that's the balance of my work. I was in radio for 17 years before I quit because I was tired of.
Radio. Radio is a tough gig. If any of you are in it, if you're thinking about it, you should know. Radio is really, really tough. I don't know what the future of radio is now with podcasts getting so big.
Honestly, the future of radio is, I think, podcasts. Every radio station that's worth their salt has a dozen podcasts that they produce in-house nowadays.
Right.
And that's where they're going. That's when I quit, by the way, because about 4 years ago, I went to the radio station, which I won't name just because I don't want to.
You've got friends there.
I've still got friends there, but and I still listen to them, and they're still great. But I went to them about 4 years ago and said, we really need to get into podcasting. We need to have a podcast network. We can use those shows as up and coming platforms for people we want to put on the radio. And they went, never mind. No, I don't think we're going to do that. And then like 6 months later, they said, hey, we got a podcast network coming out. And I said, and I walked away.
So Ken does a lot of stay-at-home dadding as well as personal training.
It works. That yeah, that's it. A lot of flexible jobs for that.
I have a really, really weird job history. I worked in radio as well for a much shorter time, like 2 years. And I did phone customer service. I was in banking for 4 years. I was in retail banking.
Like you were in banking when we met.
That's true. Yeah. I was banking when we started the podcast. But now I actually write and produce YouTube videos for a marketing company. So if you go check out reviews.org, if you really want to learn more about Sling TV or, whatever satellite internet company, I just review all sorts of crap over there. So you can check that out if you want to. So that's what I do. It's actually been like a blessing and a curse because in my day job, I've learned a ton about marketing, and I credit the growth for the last 2 or 3 years in the podcast to that. Right. I've learned a lot there. But at the same time, like all day, every day, I'm writing and I'm producing content. And so I should be doing more when I come home at night for the podcast as far as, just the little things that need to happen. And I get home and I'm just like, I can't anymore. And so I cram most of my work into like Saturdays and Sundays now, basically. So I also, I'm also starting another podcast for a guy who wanted some help. I won't tell you what the name of that is. It's not out yet anyway.
Not yet.
And so, but it has nothing to do with any of this. So I don't think that the Venn diagram would overlap very, very far. Okay, so let's get back to... By the way, Dave,
stay-at-home dad is a fantastic job.
Dream job?
Yeah, it is a lot of fun job.
Okay, so if you could pick one series to get a Game of Thrones quality TV adaptation, what would you pick? I've got my answer chambered and ready to fire.
Go for it.
This hurts. It hurts me to say this. Shannara.
Oh yeah.
Because we got 2 seasons of a Shannara show. I cannot possibly describe to you how disappointing that show was to me. And so if I were to pick a show if I were to pick a series that got a better adaptation, that might be it. I think there's a lot of really great material to mine there.
Oh yeah.
And they just gave everybody the
one I'm waiting for. Well, I don't know if it's going to happen, but
they have never ever adapted Shannara to TV.
That is exactly right. They adapted something like Shannara to TV, but
trying to decide on something else. Sorry, yeah.
The Dresden Files had it tried. They had like 8 episodes or 12 episodes or something of an awful kind of inspired by Dresden series. It started Paul Blackstone, who was in the Arrow movies and stuff, and he was okay, but it was awful. I would love to see them do some high quality, high budget, faithful to the story stuff with that, because that is a fun series that could really be apply to modern day Chicago and stuff, and they could do a lot of. And of course, my first answer is always Mistborn. Oh my gosh, I just want to see a Mistborn.
That'll be good.
Adaptation so bad.
So Brian says, "Would you?" Oh, and that is my brother, Brian. Hello, Brian. Oh, funny story, real quick before we get to his thing. If you go on iTunes and look at our reviews on iTunes, his is always the first one that comes up. And he gave us a review like the first week that we were on iTunes, and it's just stayed at the top because people marked it as helpful. And so it looks like, but it doesn't have his first name; it just says Hanks on it. So it looks like I gave us our first great review. Anyway, would you have picked another show if Shannara had been better? Yeah, I was just looking at that. I don't know. I honestly, if I were to pick Mistborn, I would probably pick Era 2 for a TV show.
Yeah. Era 2 lends itself to
Era 1 is a little bit too grand, I think, for a television program.
And I would really love to see some magic Old West stuff. That would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'll stick with that. I'm fine with that answer. So
I'd also go the Red Rising trilogy. Red Rising would be fantastic as a series.
Let's see. I like the TV show, but it's not really Dresden. I didn't know it at the time, though, because I didn't start reading Dresden until years later.
Do you want another question from Facebook or from the Reddit?
Well, real quick, Paper C says, read anything by Guy Gabriel Kay? Not yet.
No.
It's actually on one of these shelves behind me. It's ready to go. So at some point, yes. Anyway, let's do the lightning round one from Shifujuju. Okay, so you ask me, and I will answer as quickly as possible. I read these once, but I forgot them now. So.
All right, here they go. Okay. Number 1, pineapple on pizza.
Yes, and anybody who doesn't like that is a savage. The only thing that doesn't belong on pizza is barbecue sauce. You people are animals.
Yes. Agreed with that, and yes, pineapple on pizza. Not my first choice, but yes, I would eat it. Not bad. Kirk or Picard?
Picard. No, not even kind of a question.
Yeah, I would Picard, but the answer is always Cisco.
Chicken barbecue pizza is the best. You're an awful human being. There's no way around this.
You're chaotic evil.
Oh, pineapple barbecue chicken.
Wow.
Chicken also, that's like the last thing I would put on a pizza.
Yeah.
That I would put on a pizza.
All right. So Cisco.
Okay. Lightning
Cisco
round.
Okay.
Lightning round.
Miracle Whip or mayonnaise?
Mayonnaise.
Mayo. Yep. Okay. Pepsi or Coke?
Neither. I don't drink cola.
Okay, but I'll say Coke.
Sure.
Specifically diet.
Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry. Real quick. So much for lightning rounds.
By the way.
Did everybody see the Pepsi ad at the Super Bowl this year?
Yes.
And are we all ready to acknowledge that Pepsi has won the cola wars? Or sorry, that
I was going to say no.
That Coke had,
that Pepsi was basically acknowledging
that Pepsi has conceded.
Yes.
To Coca-Cola.
Yes, I think absolutely. I
had to approve this from Tim. Black olives taste like Satan's butthole. I agree. I actually, my nickname for olives is the devil's dingleberries. So you and I are very simpatico on this. I hate olives.
My goodness.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, pie or cake?
Pie.
Cake. Whatever. Jolene would agree with you, by the way. My wife, pie all day, every day.
Yeah, she loves me more than you.
She does.
Yeah.
Well, all right. Nintendo, Sony, or Microsoft?
Nintendo.
Definitely. Is a hot dog a sandwich?
No.
Absolutely not. So, absolutely not a sandwich. I'm just answering after you answer, so I get my answer.
That's fine. That's fine.
Yanni or Laurel?
I don't remember. I remember it was really clear to me at the time. I think it might have been Laurel. I don't care. I like those things. The dress and I don't care.
Honestly, I could hear both. It was weird, but I could hear both of them. It's like, isn't that both? But
Marion says around here, kebab is the thing on pizzas. There is a pizza kebab.
Oh yeah.
Right downtown in Paris. That when I was 19, 20 years old and I was a missionary there, was a revelation. It was God given, and now a little bit less so. But kebabs. Hold a special place in my heart.
Kebabs are fantastic.
Yes.
Where do we leave? Oh yeah, pop or soda?
Pop. Interchangeable, but I grew up in Seattle. It's pop.
I don't know where I grew up. Soda is what I always said. But
Okay.
I grew up here. But series or standalone novels?
Uh, both. Depends on my mood.
Kind of depends.
I wish there were more standalones. It's one of my favorite things about Elantris. Say what you will about his the debut novel effect and all that, but I love Elantris so much because it's all in one book. It's great.
I think I prefer series, but only because I like seeing characters develop.
Is a cheesesti a sandwich? Then I don't know what that means.
Is that supposed to be cheesesteak?
Cheesesteak?
Cheesesteak is a sandwich.
Cheesesteak? Yes. Okay. Cheesesteak. Cheesesteak is trash food for garbage people, and you all know it.
Also known as people from Philadelphia. Wait, no, I didn't say that. I didn't say
that's
that.
not what I mean. I don't care where you're from. Anyway, all right, go on.
All right, where are we? Reading or listening?
Both, interchangeable.
Yeah,
I like both. I guess if I had to give up one forever, I would give up listening and keep reading. But I like both.
It depends for me on if I need to finish the book in time to record, because I think I prefer to read, but I just can't get through them fast enough when I read.
Fair enough.
So, Edge or center brownies?
Not only Edge, but only the half-inch or 1-inch band around the edge.
Oh,
give me a corner piece and then take off most of the center-ish stuff, and you can keep the center brownie. It's not worthless. I will still eat the center brownie, but I would eat the entire edge first.
Have you seen that pan that is supposed to cook only edge brownies?
Yes, I have. Yeah, and it's like a snake kind of thing.
Yeah, it doesn't work. But yeah, edges, definitely edges. Zelda or Mario?
Zelda.
All day. Yeah. By the way, go listen to episode 93. That's the one where we had Jake the intern.
Your kid on.
My son Jake, who's in Mexico right now. He wants to get back.
Yeah. He's ruined our one piece of data for the podcast, because I've got another guest coming on in a couple weeks, and he was going to be the youngest guest we've ever had, the youngest participant ever. And then I remembered that Jake was like 16 when he came on.
I think when he came on.
So he's ruined everything.
But he loves Zelda, and so we talked about Zelda. Middle Earth or the Cosmere?
Middle Earth.
Yeah, you're gonna say.
But I wrote something. Oh, I wrote a comment. I wrote a Reddit comment. I think about them really separately, and I love them both for different reasons. If you missed that comment, I can't remember the context, but it was a similar question. Who's better, Tolkien or Sanderson? And here's my spiel really quickly, is I compare stories a lot, at least in my head, to buildings. And stories have been around for a long time. We've had if you think about buildings, people have been building houses and mansions and even castles for a long time. But then finally somebody came along and said, you know what? I can make a friggin' skyscraper. And that was Tolkien. Tolkien comes along and he's like, I can do something really cool with this. And from the ground up, he builds this amazing skyscraper. And so everybody else kind of sees, not everybody, but a lot of other authors see this skyscraper and they're like, that is dope. I want to do that. And so they build their own skyscrapers, and some are great. Some of them fall over before they ever make it to the top. But Sanderson came along and he's like, yeah, that skyscraper's awesome. What if I had a whole freaking city of those?
I want to build a lot.
So he builds a ton of these skyscrapers, and they all look amazing together. The skyline is fantastic. You walk around the streets and these buildings are so cool. Yep. And it's tempting to go look at Tolkien's Lone Tower and say, oh, that's kind of boring, right? That's kind of boring. But then when you walk inside Tolkien's skyscraper and you see just how much care and intention went into every banister and the well-oiled, exotic wood crown molding and all this stuff, and it's hard to come out of Tolkien. If you have a taste for it, it's hard to come out of Tolkien and not appreciate just how amazing that one building really is. So both for very different reasons.
Okay. I'm going to go Cosmere. But
his answer was faster.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Because it's landing wrong. Tacos, hard or soft?
Soft.
I wrote my answer, and then it was complete that's what she said moment. I said functionally soft, aesthetically hard.
Moving on.
Yeah. Peanut butter. Crunchy or smooth?
Smooth.
No, crunchy.
Both. Either.
Well,
Good. Both
crunchy. Gotta be crunchy.
Your eyes shine when talking Tolkien. Look, you might have missed the first part when I was talking about the trailer, but
you've got a fan in Madigan.
It's true. I love Tolkien so much. We're doing another Silmarillion episode. That's where I'm bringing on the other guest I was mentioning, and I'm really looking forward to it. It's been way too long since we did a good Tolkien episode.
Yeah.
So go on.
We're gonna incorporate Tenuvial 91's questions. Into
this okay. Was that the end of the?
No, he's got one more. Toilet paper, over or under?
Oh, over, and similar to the pineapple thing. Anybody who goes under is
you're
wrong.
Evil.
There is a right and a wrong way to do that one. Anybody else?
There's a special place in hell next to the child molesters and the people that talk in theater.
Easy
for people to go under with the toilet paper.
Go on to Tenuvial.
All right, Tenuvial 91. What are your hobbies apart from reading and podcasting?
Go ahead.
For me, baseball.
Oh, sure.
Love baseball.
Watching it.
Yeah. I love playing it too, but mostly watching it. I'd talk about baseball all day, every day if I could. Loved it. Spartan racing. I run obstacle races, which is part and parcel of the whole fitness thing. And I write.
Oh. I'm sorry. I love this so much. I love this so much. Okay. I'm stopping you there because you mentioned baseball. Shifu Juju says, go Indians. And that was blocked by...
That was blocked by YouTube.
By the content blocker. Anyway. Sorry, don't go Indians. Indians bad because I'm a Mariners fan and they've shattered our hopes and dreams a few times over the years.
In terms of go Indians, I only have 3 words for you. Go Cubs, go.
Whatever.
Okay, let's see. Your hobbies?
My hobbies. What do I do? This is kind of my hobby, honestly. Yeah. I do have. Actually, will you go over there and go grab that cross stitch? So I cross stitch. Believe it or not, it's a really, really great way to relax. And so, points to whoever can identify this cross stitch that I'm working on right now.
I'm going to wear this hat. I think this is your cross stitching hat, isn't it? It was on your cross stitch. So.
Yeah. I wore that hat to do a Comic-Con video a couple years ago.
Oh yeah, I remember.
So A Link to the Past world map. Yes, this is the Dark World. I've finished the Light World map, and that's on my wall in the house. So when I finish this one, I'll frame it in a twin frame, and they'll be next to each other. So I like to cross stitch. I'm trying to think. I like baking. I enjoy baking.
Oh yeah, wassail.
Oh, I make mean wassail. I make the best wassail in the world. Okay.
2 more. What fictional universe would you most like to live in?
Middle Earth.
Figured you would.
Maybe the Harry Potter universe, so that it could still be this world, but I get to turn people into goblets and stuff.
Yeah, I have so many logistical questions about the Harry Potter universe, but
somebody's wife is impressed with my cross stitch. This is you can see the roll in it. This is this line right here is the 50% mark. So I've got 2 more pages to do right here, and then 3 more next to that, and it will be done. So
how long have you been working on that?
5 full pages. I took a year break on this one, honestly, but total this one's probably been 18 months. No, probably not that long. Maybe 12 months. It'll probably be 18 total when I'm finished with it. The Light World one was about 18 months. So, yeah.
I would probably say 24th century Star Trek.
Oh, okay.
Just because it seems clean and, utopian.
That it is. It is.
And last one from Tenuvial 91, your favorite flag?
Oh, good one. That's a great question
that I had to think about.
Is this fictional worlds or is it real world flags?
I took it as all of the above.
Okay, so as a Tolkien guy, I've always loved the Tree of Gondor with the 7 stars and all that. That's great. Oh, yeah. That's great flag. But real world flag, this is weird, right? this is a weird question.
It's a great question.
As a good American, I love a good American flag, just mostly because of the patriotism that stirs and all that stuff. So that's great. But aesthetically, I might. Oh, you know what? I also have a soft spot in my heart for is the old Soviet flag.
Oh, the hammer and sickle.
Yeah. Just because of the associations I have with like old movies,
right?
Rocky IV with the big.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
No, but seriously, I might go Sweden just because I love the blue and yellow. Blue and yellow is a great combo.
That's a good one.
So
I love the American flag, and I'll defend it, to death or life,
sure.
Whatever. I personally love the Japanese flag. I love the simplicity of it. Yeah, okay. Love the simplicity of it. And I was born in Japan, so.
Were you really? I did not know that.
Yeah, U.S. Air Force Base, son of a GI. So.
Okay, all right. Hey, I just learned something about you. This is great.
And so I love the Japanese flag. But I think if I'm going flag, I like the best. What happened?
Well, Ryan just texted me and said that there's no audio on YouTube. He might just be using the wrong video.
I think he might be using the wrong video.
Okay, sorry, go on. Keep talking.
Because but I think the flag I like aesthetically the most, if this makes me un-American, whatever, is probably the Saudi Arabian flag. With the green with the white writing and the saber on it. I love that flag. I always have. But going fantasy, I probably have to go with Rand's red hand, fan of the red hand.
Lagging Gingleback. Okay, this is the only thing the internet is good for is great handles. That is a great handle. Says it's so weird to see these voices coming out of actual faces instead of a podcast. Okay, so do I look like I sound? People say I look like I sound. I don't know how to take that, but let's go back. There were some other questions that we kind of skipped over. Aviv says, what's the greatest sin a
was
book
a good question.
Could do, in your opinion? Like, what is the thing that you read and you immediately abandon the series or book? For me, it's Deus Ex Machina. For those, if you're not familiar with the term, Deus Ex Machina means God from the machine. The author makes something happen at the end of the book or at some point in the book to solve the character's problems. Right. I don't care for that. Although that's one of those things where if you're reading or watching fiction, you can call a lot of things that. Like it's kind of an elastic term. So I don't know that would be it. As far as the number one sin, I could probably count on like one hand the number of books that I've literally abandoned in the last 10, 15 years.
I don't
do it very often.
I know there's one. I literally closed the book and literally threw it aside because the ending was so awful that I could not continue with it. And I was actually physically angry at the way that the author resolved the book. And I can't remember why it's not exactly Deus Ex Machina, but it was basically a solution out of left field. Like there was no build-up, no setup, no nothing. And it just, here's the ending. Here's what we're going to do. In fact, it wasn't a resolution. It was conflict created, just what seemed like for the sake of creating conflict.
Right. No, that makes sense.
And I just went, no, I'm out.
Real quick, John says, you're better looking than your voice entails. Source, my girlfriend. Well, John's girlfriend.
Thank you.
So what you're saying is that I sound like a 3. Anyway, I'll just leave it there.
I think she was talking about me.
Yeah, she's talking about your boobs.
Yeah.
Okay, so what question were we just going on about?
That one was the one about the greatest sin in a novel.
Yeah. I don't know that I've abandoned a book. I will say, anybody who's read the Christopher Paolini books, the Inheritance Cycle, I have tried twice to read the final book in that series, and both times it's not like I get to some certain point and then just throw up my hands. I'm like, I can't do this. But I've trailed off both times where I'll get to a certain point and then I'll get distracted. Maybe I have to read something else for some reason. And I've never been able to finish that series. I think maybe that final book is boring or something. I don't know what it is. I think we should actually do that series at some point on the podcast.
I'd be interested to.
So.
what
Let's
you
see.
saw.
John says, "Who'd have thought Craig could spout such an eloquent analogy?" It's cheating since it's about Tolkien, but still. Actually, I've been developing that analogy a little bit. If you guys remember, there was a YouTube video that I did about, stop recommending fantasy books to your friends, and the title was a little tongue in cheek, but I was thinking about doing another video essay, and so I've kind of been developing that analogy for a little while. So if anybody out there is whiz with motion graphics and can help me build a motion graphics city, that'd be great. Okay, let's
Anything
see. I'm just trying to think if let's see. A Link to the Past remains my all-time favorite Zelda, but probably because I was a very impressionable youth. It's actually mine as well. For a lot of different reasons, but for one thing, I have a 5-year-old, and when he was about a year ago, when he was 4. I was like, you know what? He could probably figure out how to play a video game, but I can't hand him a Switch and say, here's Breath of the Wild, play Breath of the Wild. I can't hand him like a Wii remote and say, go play Twilight Princess or something like that. The controls are just too difficult. But Link to the Past is not only a ton of fun, and not only can you beat it in like 1 or 2 sittings, but you can hand it to a 4-year-old and he can figure out how to play it. There's something about those classic games in that I think is worthwhile. So, never played Twilight Princess.
Yeah, you and me.
It's well loved. Oh, I have played A Link Between Worlds. That one is fun. I did not like the weapons mechanic in it, where you're renting weapons, but that's a little thing. But the game was fun, a lot of fun. Twilight Princess is fine. It's really well loved. It's too long for my taste, but whatever.
Tim Sabek, by the way, he points out New Mexico has a great simple flag, and it does.
That's true.
They have a fantastic flag.
I do not like Utah's flag.
I don't either. I want to because I.
You know what's worse? Go after this. Go somewhere on YouTube and look up the Utah State song and weep for us. Okay.
That's
okay.
It was written by a class of 6th graders. I'm fairly certain that's true, by the way. I think it was written by a class of 6th graders. You know who else has a great flag, by the way? Ohio has a fantastic flag. I love the fact it's the only flag.
Why are we talking about flags so much?
Because Tim Civic brought it back up.
Okay, fine.
It's the only one that's not rectangular. It's got the jaggeds in it. I love it. So anyway.
Okay, we should move on. We're already over an hour. Holy crap! If you're sick of us, tell us to go away. Yeah, if you're sick of us, tell us to go away. That's fine. I won't blame you. Or you go away.
That's how we know when people start dropping off. Like, oh, I guess we're done.
Okay, so we also need to get to.
Oh, we haven't even touched hate mail.
Yeah, so we've got some hate mail. Let's see, for book series with great flags. Oh, okay. They wanted us to approve that comment because it's a link, an external link. That's fine. You can link to tor.com. Fun with flags, I guess so, if you say so.
You know what else I have fun with, by the way, and this is a little bit of a passion? Fun with uniforms or color schemes, that stuff with sports teams. Love it.
Okay.
Yeah, similar to flags.
So let's do a little bit of hate mail because I just think it's fun, honestly. And okay, now I'll also be honest that sometimes we'll get a piece of hate mail that I'm like, oh, it hurts a little bit. You know, it does. It really does. Words matter. But for the most part, it's kind of fun to see like what people think of us. Because here's the thing that you have to understand, and we'll maybe get more into this as we go through some of the comments that we've got. But when we started the podcast, it was just me and Ryan. And he and I had a long history together, and I think he and I did, and I think we do still now have really great chemistry on the podcast, and it makes for good conversations. Then we bring on Ken and Todd, who, correct me if I'm wrong, like you guys knew Ryan from around the theater scene.
We've been in shows together, the three of us.
Yeah. Oh, okay. All right. So you knew each other pretty well, but it's not like you were besties like he and I were.
Right.
And I didn't know you guys at all.
Right. We're coming in fresh with you.
And so there was a good period of time, like, you know, I don't know, 50 episodes or less maybe, but there was a period of time where we were all kind of feeling each other out.
Yeah.
And so you go listen to those old Mistborn episodes, and it's pretty obvious that, like, at least to me, that we did not know each other.
Yes, I think that's accurate.
And both of you, and I'm sure this is true of me to you as well, but like both you and Todd, for different reasons, drove me crazy, drove me absolutely insane.
For a long time, yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, you still do, but that's a different issue.
But now the only difference is I don't care.
So these guys drove me crazy forever, and then as we start to kind of get used to each other, it became a thing where we're all ourselves on the podcast, but at the same time we become
the characters that
we're playing characters in a way.
Yeah. You're the guy who you're the curmudgeon who insults
I'm the grumpy old man who hates everybody and everything, and that's kind of true to life.
Yeah,
you know,
I'm the
to a certain degree,
the non-intellectual. I see. I couldn't even think of the right term for it. So I have to go non-intellectual action guy who just wants some good punching. That's all I want.
I don't know what flanderized means. I assume that has something to do with The Simpsons, but I'm not entirely sure. Anyway, point being, so
I think that's a way of saying just embody a certain characteristic.
Oh yeah, maybe.
Ned Flanders is the embodiment of the
Midwest Christian.
Yeah.
Okay.
But Todd's the old guy.
Todd's the old guy. Oh, there's another. Let's see, TV tropes. I
love TV tropes.
What's it? Oh, Flanderized. Okay, I'm not going to go look at that right now, but I'll go educate myself later.
Yeah.
So, anyway, so in the beginning, we're all kind of feeling it out. Then we settle into these characters that we're more or less playing on the podcast. But when somebody comes in new, so we start a new series and they're like, oh, they're doing Red Rising. Oh my gosh, look at all this great stuff they've done before. And so they go back to those old Sanderson episodes and they can hear it maybe in a more real, raw way, you driving me batch insane.
Right.
And so I think,
especially in those, was it The Way of Kings?
Oh yeah, I think
the first couple of Way of Kings episodes.
I started one of the Way of Kings episodes by telling you to shut
up, and that's where the flare came from.
Yeah, exactly. So that's all just like a little bit of background, because I got an email. This was months ago,
right?
But I got an email, and I'm going to read this for you guys. I think you'll enjoy this. Fun with Flags, Big Bang Theory.
Oh yeah, that's where it's. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I don't do Big Bang Theory. I've seen an episode or two, but
he has a little webcast called Fun Flags.
Anyway. Okay, gotcha. Let's see. So I got this email, and it says the subject is "I want to love the podcast." It says, "Hello, I really like most of this show. I love how thorough your analysis is and how emotionally open your discussions are. I've passed this show to several fantasy-loving friends of mine. We all agree that you bring value to our days. However, we are also in agreement we may not be able to listen to many episodes. Craig is a sarcastic person. Sarcasm used not as comedy, but with an edge. Craig is a bully, often taking obstinate and pedantic positions above the others. Craig comes off as rude, unpleasant, and immature in his position as host.
It's only because that's the way he is.
I recommend everybody listening to a few past episodes and try and hear it from a stranger's perspective. I wish you all, and you, Craig, the best." I love this email for so many reasons, I will never name who this person is. But yeah, that's the thing. So Alex says, so far this all seems accurate. Yeah, totally. That's part of the shtick.
That's pretty much us.
It's part of the show. So I don't know quite what else to say. So Craig's a sarcastic person. Guilty. Sarcasm used not as comedy, but with an edge. Well, I mean, that's a subjective call. Craig is a bully. Yeah, sure.
Well, sometimes.
Often taking obstinate and pedantic positions above the others. Well, you see, it's hard not to do that when my opinions are clearly superior. You understand. I mean, you get it. So yeah, that's where that comes from. I don't know. Rude, unpleasant, immature, all guilty. It's fine. Anyway, so that was one of my favorite emails that I've ever received. Fangorn, who is with Craig? That's Ken.
This is Ken.
Ken.
It was also one of my favorite emails we received, by the way.
So I had this whole reply typed out, and then I was like, but it was pretty like, I was taking this person to task. I was like, wow, that's a lot of really mean things to say for somebody you're trying to ask to be nicer.
Right.
That sort of thing. But I didn't ever send it. I asked Todd if he wanted to reply, and so I don't know if he ever did, but
although you did send it to us, and we had a good. It was cathartic for you.
So yeah. Okay, so do we want to do? There was the survey. I hope you all participated in the 2019 survey. We got a lot of responses, so I combed through dozens and dozens of responses to find a few of the fun, the kind of negative ones that we got. Because I love it. This was actually Ryan's survey. He's the one who put it together. And so he asked one thing that was like, what do you really like about the show? What are the things you love? And then his other question was, what makes you want to lick a powdered cheese grater?
Right.
Which is something only Ryan could write.
I thought it said powdered cheese grater at first. What does that mean?
Let's see. So yeah, a lot of people had some things to say. Here's another one. Craig, I'm sure you're reading this. You can come off a little disrespectful. Yeah, that's true. How about this one? Everyone who isn't Ken.
Aw.
Yeah, that's not hate mail.
My mom.
Except
my
for
mom
me.
listens.
For the rest of us. I suspect I know who wrote that. But
really? I'd be interested to know. But Fangorn says we're very similar.
I feel like our personalities are very similar. Well, Mr. Fangorn, you would drive me insane.
And you would put up with it.
Let's see. Lagging Gingleback says, as a sarcastic jerk, I find it very cathartic when I'm listening to the podcast. And I think something mean, and Craig says it exactly a second later. Yep.
So there we are. There's us. That's not actually us, but it might as well be.
Let's see. So, somebody says the theme song. I missed the old one.
I missed the old one too, but quite honestly, we couldn't get the rights to use it.
So the old theme song, this is something, it's moot. Thank you, friends quote. Woo! Old theme song.
It's one of my favorite ones.
We were using a theme song from overseas, and at the time, my thought process was like, they don't even have a distributor in the US. Nobody's going to worry about it if we use this song or, the songs from this band. Nobody's going to come after us, and they're great songs, and they really are. But after a while, I was like, now that I've got, I think I had 2 or 3 years of the podcast and, creating my own content. And I was like, yeah, this just, even if it's like legal, I didn't feel like it was horribly ethical.
Well, and honestly, we got to the point where we're like, oh, we have listeners. we have enough listeners now that it might matter. It might actually matter.
So I emailed the band in question. They're from Finland, and I emailed them and said, hey, we'd love to continue using your stuff as our theme song. Is that cool with you guys? And they basically came back and said, well, no, only if you pay royalties. And we couldn't afford that, so it had to go. So we went from Finland to Norway. And our current theme music comes from a guy who goes by the moniker of Filter, PH Filter. And I like his music a ton. I actually found it off of Sanderson's Stormlight 3 soundtrack that he has on Spotify. So that's how I found it. It's great. I think it works. Is it better or worse than the old stuff? I don't know. I guess that's up to you. Anyway.
Yeah. I still like it. I miss the old Grown Up Roger theme, but that's the nice thing about the internet is I can pull it up and listen to it.
Marion likes the Filter stuff. Thank you.
I think Marion has a crush on you. I'm just saying.
I have a crush on Marion.
All right.
So let's see. Alex says, for the record, Malazan is specifically written for condescending intellects. Perfect. All right. I'm starting now.
Perfect.
I actually did just order the first book, so it's on its way to my house.
I think Ryan is already reading.
Ryan has already read the whole first book, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. We will get there. It is.
It's on our to-do list.
Yeah, it's on the to-do list. Exactly. What's Ublalapung? Ublalapung.
I do not know.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, we missed one. And Tim, thank you for bringing this back. As Sean asked earlier, do you guys have any favorite board games?
All right.
Yeah, do we want to switch off of the hate mail? Is there any more hate mail that we want to do?
The hate mail is I think we pretty much covered it. I mean, it's people like me and they don't like you. I mean,
it's actually remarkable. If you guys, and I know just by the numbers that at least a couple of you are guilty of this. But the theme of this survey was, what do you like about the show? Ken. What do you hate about the show? Craig. And it was so stark, which was perfect because, again, this is kind of the characters that we're building up. If any of you are professional wrestling fans, that's actually one thing we don't have in common. I'm not a big fan of professional wrestling, but I do know the idea of the heel and the face. And so for you guys who are listening, you're in on the joke now.
I'm the face.
At a certain point, it became deliberate. I made Ken the face of the show. He's like our mascot now, for lack of a better word.
I feel like that's
because I went heel. And so I turned heel, and I didn't have to turn very far. But I turned heel and made Ken our mascot, and so so it was fun to see that play out in the survey.
Yeah.
In fact, we got I forgot we should go to iTunes. There was an iTunes one. This person, I can't decide how to take this because it's 4 stars. It's a 4-star review on iTunes. The title is "No More Craig" from Rocky Rockwell. And it says, how much do I need to donate to the Patreon to get Craig kicked off the podcast? Name any price. I will start a GoFundMe if I need to.
4 stars.
So, I don't know if that's serious or not.
I don't understand.
Frankly, I don't care.
I don't understand reviews like that, by the way.
I think it's great.
They kill and then 4 stars. Yeah. What do you high star? Oh, yeah. I didn't ask Fingolfin's second part of his question.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Go ahead.
If you could only eat hot food and beverages or cold food and beverages for the rest of your life, which would you choose? That's Sophie's choice, really. Oh, well, I mean, cold food has ice cream, but warm food has pizza.
What does cold have that's amazing besides like ice
it has
drinks,
ice cream. Yeah, it has ice cream and Diet Coke.
I'd probably go hot.
I'm
willing to have my mind changed on that, but I would probably go with hot food.
Although I'm willing to eat cold pizza. So, but that means no hamburgers.
Definitely hot food. Okay,
probably hot.
Okay, so let's get back to this one. Right. Do you guys have any favorite board games? Risk.
Yes.
Oh, actually, I should say, along those lines, Lord of the Rings Risk, and I've been saying this since I was 17 years old, 16 years old. It's not just because it's the Lord of the Rings. If you've ever played it, you'll know it's a fantastically constructed game. The board, the map is a ton of fun to play on. It's got, all the mountain ranges and the rivers and stuff. So it is a wildly good version of Risk. I can't recommend it highly enough. I don't play a ton of board games though, so I kind of tap out after that one.
I don't either. Risk is probably my go-to for favorite. However, I think I might lean towards some of the classic simple board games like Sorry.
Okay.
Because
like Monopoly or Candyland. You like Candyland?
I love Candyland. Who doesn't love Candyland? But
Ken is both old and very, very young.
Yes, exactly. But I love the games like Sorry and I can't remember what the one with the popper thing is but because they're simple to grasp, they're simple to play, and they don't last for hours. And my kids can play them, and we have fun and laugh, and it's great, to play those simple games. So I don't mind simple board games.
By the way, Mike says I can't drink hot water. I actually can, believe it or not. I can down hot water.
That's not a bad point, though.
So yeah, it's a good point. Okay, so let's see. Marion says, "Don't be jealous, Ken. Your synopsis shots are awesome." Agreed. He's really good at them. I used to be better, and then I
started doing them.
I just stopped trying. So let's see.
By the way, have you ever played Axis and Allies?
No.
It's like Risk on steroids.
Yeah,
it used to be fun. I haven't gotten into it.
Maybe
that's
the
same
best
thing where I just don't have 5 million years to play video or to play board games.
Right. Yeah. When you're a teenager, you can devote an entire day.
Yeah.
It's kind of like D&D. Like we, as a team, we want to play more D&D, and we want to put it on video for you guys. but carving out 4, 5, 6 hours to play Dungeons and Dragons with 6 panelists, all of whom are well, except for Megan, I guess.
And
other than
families,
Megan, we all were married and have kids and all this stuff. Like, it's just a nightmare. So, last parting shot on board games.
All right.
Risk 2210 AD.
Oh,
it's like a futuristic version of Risk where the board extends, where you can play on the moon, and they have underwater cities and all this stuff.
I remember it. I haven't played it since I was a kid, but I remember
cards.
it. Yeah.
I love it.
That's a good one.
Fangorn loves Lord of the Rings Risk. Of course you are. Your screen name is Fangorn. Of course you do. Whatever. Let's see.
But like you said, the last 5. I love diplomacy. When I was a kid, I played diplomacy. Loved it.
Sean says Lords of Waterdeep.
Oh,
I will say I did when Ryan and I were at the Sanderson compound, which maybe I should tell you guys about at some point. But when we were there, I did tell his assistant Adam, I was like, "Look, I know you guys do a lot of like board game testing. Like when they get the Mistborn game and stuff." I was like, 100%, we will do that.
We will test that,
and we will be me at least. I would be the beginner. Like, if this guy can figure it out and have fun, then it's probably
you'll be the field tester.
It's okay for everybody.
No, that would be fun. My last word on board games. If you've never played the Mad Magazine board game, it's a game from like the early '80s, and it was this game where you start with money, and your goal is to lose all your money in the most ridiculous ways possible, and that was a blast. And I haven't played it in 30 years, but it was a blast.
Yeah. So there you go.
So go look for that.
Okay, let's see. Arkham Horror, Lords of Waterdeep. Let's see. Trying to think. All right, let's see. I'm trying to see if there's anything else.
We'll have to get more into the Sanderson visit sometime. He hasn't even told us off the mic yet.
Oh, how? Okay, so yeah, I will tell you about the Sanderson compound in just a sec. How difficult were the logistics to have Brandon come on for the Truth episode? Difficult, not too terribly, but very time consuming, or very lengthy. So Brandon put out the Legion, The Many Lives of Stephen Leeds. If you've seen this, it's kind of he wrote 3 novellas, Legion novellas, and then when the third came out, they put them all together in this kind of full-length-ish book. It's still short for Sanderson, but whatever. Anyway, and so I heard that he was having a release party, and this was back in, I want to say, October last year. I heard he was having a release party, and so I thought, oh, we're about to cover Skyward. I don't know that we're going to cover Legion, but we're going to do Skyward. I should go down there and see if I can get some audio of him, welcoming people to the podcast. So I go down there and talked to his assistant Adam, lovely man, and I said, hey, I'd love to get some audio with him, but he was already in the middle of signing everything, and so he said, well, if you can hang around, I'm sure he'd be happy to do it at the very end. And so I stood, 8 or 10 feet away from Brandon's table. I'm kind of just like chilling with his team of people. And I waited for like 3.5 or 4 hours for him to finish signing books. And that was an illuminating experience, let me tell you, because I could hear all the questions that people were asking when I would listen in. So that was an interesting experience all by itself. And then I did get a chance to ask him to do the thing afterwards, and he gave us the audio. And then I said, because I'd been listening to him sign books and answer people's questions for hours, and he got the same 10 questions maybe over and over and over again, and I'm over here, my brain's about to explode, and I'm like, somebody ask him something interesting. And but he was such a champ. I was blown away because he's got years of practice, I suppose, at this point, and he's also just naturally an extremely nice guy. But he was all class, answering everybody's question every time, as though it were the first time they'd asked. But anyway, so between that and there was a newspaper article that I'd read that gave me the impression that he's not going to want to go do an event or be interviewed by somebody if it's not like if he's already answered these questions 1,000 times, he doesn't want to answer them again. And so as I'm getting the audio from him, I said, hey, Brandon, how would you like, we'd love to have you on the show. How would you like to come on and talk about something that's not you and not your book? And he was like, what do you mean? And I said, well, I know you're a big Pratchett fan. We haven't done Pratchett yet. I'd love to have you come on and do Pratchett. And he's like, yeah, if we can make the scheduling happen, definitely. And so yeah, we scheduled it for after the new year. And it was supposed to be right after the new year. We were going to go on the 3rd, and then there were some scheduling conflicts. And so it got pushed out about 3 weeks. And we finally got him on the show. And it was obviously, I mean, if you guys have heard it, it was amazing. So yeah, it was great. It was not difficult. Like I said, his assistant Adam was a champ at helping us get that all taken care of. As far as the day itself, if you guys would like to hear about this, I'm happy to tell you. Have I not told you any of this? I should say. Oh, real quick,
we didn't have to hear. We didn't hear about when you had to like screen in or anything.
On the other side of the studio, there, that poster right there is the poster that he had at that signing, and he gifted it to me, signed it, and so did the cover artist, Miranda Meeks, who's wonderful.
Why are we blurry now?
I don't know why we're blurry now. I don't care. Oh boy, sorry guys. Oh,
this is scintillating.
This is great. This is good TV. All right, so what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, so it's great. It hangs on my wall now. It was much appreciated. Anyway. Oh yeah, so the day of. So Ryan and I pack up all this equipment, and we've got this giant box of audio equipment that we take down. It's about an hour drive away from here. We invited him to this studio, but it's an hour away. So he said, "No, you can come to me." So we go down to his house, and it's in a town in Utah County. He teaches a class at BYU, so he lives pretty close to BYU. But we drive down there, and we go to this house, and so here's what I think happened. Would you go hold the power button on that thing real quick? It's our baby monitor is going crazy. So I think when he published Elantris got popular, Mistborn got popular, and then he finishes the Wheel of Time. The dude's starting to make some money, right? So he buys a big house in a gated community. Great house. And then his books started getting really, really popular. And so he buys this lot next door. It looks like it's about an acre, maybe, give or take. And he buys an even bigger, or he builds an even bigger house next door. But he doesn't sell the old house. That one is now offices and warehousing for all the books and stuff and all the swag that they send out. And so we recorded in the office house. That's also where they record writing excuses. We recorded in the same room. And so already there's 2 houses. And if you keep up with his newsletter, if you don't subscribe to his newsletter, you should. And I knew that he was building an underground lair. And sure enough, his assistant says, "Do you guys want to see the lair?" And I was like, "You bet I do." And so Ryan and I are tagging along. He says, "Yeah, let's go see the lair." And he takes us next door to the house. And I'm like, I thought we were going to go see the lair. Why are we going to this house? He takes us down into the basement. There's this unfinished basement room where he like plays Magic the Gathering, or at least stores some cards or whatever. I'm like, what's going on? And I look over, and there's this archway. And keep in mind, we're in a basement, so we're already below ground level. And this archway with stairs just goes down. It's like 50 feet long, and it goes down. Dang, another dozen feet or something like I don't know. I don't know how far down it goes, but it's intense. And sure enough, we go down there. It's still under construction, and I didn't take many pictures. I didn't want to be too intrusive that way, so I didn't come back with many pictures. But you walk in, and there's this huge hall with some skylights. That's like one of the only things you can see above ground is these skylights. And there's like alcoves for statues, and there's offices, and he's got rich people movie theaters where you get a few lazy boys and they're kind of like on these little steps up. Not that. He has a movie theater in the back of this underground lair.
night.
It was amazing, and so we got to tour that and see the guys working on that place, and then we went back to the office house and went to the basement, and we're they had some damaged books. This is one of those things, like, if you're not a fan of Sanderson's books, you should at least be a fan of him, and like his business that he runs. Like, it's absolutely fantastic what he does with it and what they do with it. These two books behind me, these Mistborn books, you might recognize those as the leather-bound Mistborn books. They won't send those to you if there's even a nick on them. If they're not perfect, they're like, hey, look, these people are paying $100 for these books. We're not going to send them out if there's a flaw. And so these two are actually damaged copies that I was able to pick up out of the warehouse there.
Really?
So that, yeah, they had just had a few damaged copies that they felt like they weren't able to sell, and I was like, I'll take them.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, maybe like a future giveaway or something with those. When I say damaged, what I mean is, like, this one, there's like a little nick on the inside cover. Like, that's damaged. That's a damaged book, and so they won't send it out. But this one's signed and everything. I think he signed it before they realized it was damaged, and so the Well of Ascension one is not signed. But anyway, point being, like, it was an amazing day. I can't believe it. It was like a top 10 day for me. It was unreal. I couldn't stop smiling for like 48 hours after that experience. So anyway,
I'd still be squealing like a little girl.
Yeah, it was a ton of fun. I'm
insanely jealous I couldn't go, but yeah. I mean, it's the Sanderson compound. It's limited, seating available, and that's fine. But John Jamako, he mentions, if Shallan was a dude in modern times,
that's Legion.
Legion. Yeah, I get that. And Tim Sebeck, yes, we will cover Legion at some point. It's not traditional fantasy, but it's Sanderson, like you say. So we will be covering it. So
Lagging Giggleback says, a damaged copy of Mistborn with a coffee stain personally left by Craig himself. That reminds me, every once in a while we'll send out a Legendarium copy of whatever book, and it's basically just we've scribbled our names in, or like put notes in the margins and all this stuff that we talked about on the show, and we lower the value of the book and then send it to you. It's fantastic.
Exactly.
So let's see. John also says those leather-bound copies are gorgeous. I agree. I'll show you this as well. Over on this wall, you'll see if it ever. There we go. So you can see all three Mistborn books there, as well as Elantris, the non-damaged copies. That shelf is my special edition, signed edition, first edition stuff. So there's we've got Dragonflight by Anne McCaffrey. There's Shannara. There's like an old 70s version of The Lord of the Rings. I've got a first edition Starship Troopers. So there's some pretty cool stuff over there. But the Sanderson ones are no doubt the prettiest books that we have. Oh my gosh. And I will say, another reason that I like the Sanderson team so much is that after I started buying these leather-bound Mistborns and Elantris and all that, Terry Brooks, his Shannara series, they started putting out leather-bound Shannara books, and I've been a big fan of Shannara since I was a kid. So I was like, I'll buy a copy of the Elfstones. That's book 2. It's one of my favorite Shannara books. I was like, yeah, I'll grab a copy of the Elfstones, and I got that in, and let me tell you, it's fine. It's fine, but compared to that, the Sanderson books, it's the old, John Hammond from Jurassic Park, spared no expense. Smith sewn, genuine leather, gilded edges to keep out moisture, all this stuff where they spared no expense, and they are amazing books. I know they're expensive, but if you want something that your great grandkids will be able to read, I can't recommend them highly enough.
I'm in the same boat as John Jamako.
I've been looking at them for so long.
I've wanted them for so long. I just can't pull the trigger on $100.
Yeah, and I started buying them as they came out, and so it's a smaller hit.
Yeah.
And so like $100 is still a lot for a book.
Yeah.
But if you were able to do it one at a time, it was a little bit easier. So
That's
anyway, are we
done?
exhausted?
I think we're about it.
Oh gosh.
Although I want to point out in one last thing though, Emily Zhang, all these haters shaking my head. Craig's personality is integral to the show.
Integral?
Absolutely integral. Integral.
Okay. All right.
Absolutely. And I have to say, as you know, before we leave, I absolutely agree. So it's absolutely necessary to the show. We couldn't do it without him, and I mean that quite honestly. 90%, 75% of the stuff that we put on, that gets put on, is because of Craig. I mean, we're this studio was largely his brainchild, and a lot of the logistics that go into it are because of work that he's done. So I mean, yeah, I absolutely agree. And Craig and I, we banter is not the right word.
Banter.
It's not the right word for what goes on between the two of us. But honestly, we get along well, and it's a fun thing to be a part of. So
yeah, it has been a long 5 years. Yeah, I've worked really hard on the show, so it's certainly nice to be validated. But obviously, like, let me just tell you, the most horrific part about running a podcast with 6 different panelists is scheduling.
Yeah,
it is a nightmare, but I put up with it, and I do it week after week after week because the show would be worthless without the rest of everybody, and you guys know that. So if anybody's integral, it's everybody, honestly. So
or integral.
Weirdo. Although I should say, and we've only got a few people left. People are starting to drop off, and so there's your signal that we're leaving. But if you're still with us, I will say this: I have been thinking, and this is in the I wonder if this would be a good idea phase. I've been thinking of, the Legendarium could be a lot more than just a podcast, right? This YouTube channel could use a lot of love. We need to make more videos. The website itself could use a lot of love. Working on that and kind of building some community, both on Reddit and elsewhere. And so there's a part of me that wants to go do that other stuff and build some other stuff and create videos and stuff. And so I've been thinking, like, maybe Todd and Ken and Ryan run the podcast, and I kind of step back a little bit. I don't know.
You'll be the network general manager.
Yeah, I don't know. Obviously, it's not like I would disappear from the show.
Right.
But as far as like being a host and like being in almost week in and week out, it's been something I've been thinking about. So we'll see. It's the thing about a show like this is it's been 5 years and we have evolved quite a bit, but it's the sort of thing where like you have to change or things will die.
Right.
And so as much as some of you may enjoy the show, you have to admit, like, if we did another 200 episodes, after a while you'd be like, yeah, okay, I kind of got the shtick. I know exactly what they're going to say about every book they review and all that. And so we have to adapt and find new ways to be interesting to you guys. And so any suggestions along those lines, obviously email them, or you can comment here. That sort of thing is more than welcome. We'll be more than happy to hear that sort of thing. Yep. So let's see. Is there anything else? I don't think we missed any comments. If we did, let us know. Tim asks, will the podcast cover Legion at some point? Very possibly.
We caught on that one.
What did we say?
Yeah, we got that one. We said that we probably would, since it's Sanderson.
Yeah, I could see us doing it. It's I'm not scared away that it's not typical fantasy. That's not something that bothers me. I personally, like, my own definition of what fantasy is a very, very wide net, and so no, that I have no problem with that. As for whether we will, there is a long line of books, and so Yeah, and that's the problem we run into with absolutely everything. Is the line is just horrendously long. So
Dominic Shaler, we actually have a series of romantic fantasy books that we want Craig and Kyle to read and review.
what are they called?
I don't remember. It has to do with werewolves, not Twilight, like actual werewolves. I don't remember. I have to find it again.
I don't remember. Oh, Marion asked who got the OB book, the Oathbringer giveaway. 100%. I want to do 50 Shades, Tim. I want to do 50 Shades so bad. I think it'll be hilarious. Maybe April Fools or something like that.
Anyway, Legendarium After Dark.
Marion asked who got the Oathbringer book. So we did a giveaway. The Oathbringer book was a Reddit contest, and so what it was after the Sanderson episode where he came on and talked about The Truth by Terry Pratchett, we said whoever makes the best Reddit comment will win the book, as determined by me and Ryan. And so we went through all of the comments a couple weeks later and said, all right, he and I kind of came up with our top 2 or 3, and we compared notes, and there were two comments in the running, and ultimately it just came down to flip a coin. Honestly, I can't remember the handle of the person who won, but if you go back and read through the comments, it ended up being the person who sent some supplementary links. So there were 2 comments. One of them was hilarious. It was kind of like a limerick or something, and it was a ton of fun and made us smile. And so that was a great comment, and it was up against something that we thought was really, really helpful and supplementary to the discussion. And ultimately, I literally flipped a coin, and it landed on that really helpful comment. And I'm glad that it did, because I love that idea of anytime we discuss something, if there's supplementary material somewhere else, that stuff gets brought in. So, because look, I think we're getting pretty good at understanding stories and understanding writing and all that stuff, but ultimately, we're not experts, and we miss stuff. We don't know all of the things about all the things, and so anytime you can help educate us as well as the other listeners, we love that. So I'm really glad that that's the comment that won. Let's see. Legendarium After Dark. Let's see.
That would be fun.
I'd love to see these Mormon boys do the Captive Prince series. I don't know what that is, but I can imagine.
I'll be looking it up.
So 50 Shades narrated by the Legendarium team. Again, fantastic idea for an April Fool's episode. I think that'd be great.
We're looking to diversify content.
So Dominic says Brandon began writing book 4 of Stormlight. I'm already chomping at the bit. Yeah, we all are.
Man,
yeah, be
absolutely.
Patient. It'll be another year and a half before we
The rhythm
smell
of
it.
punching.
Yeah, he's been outlining for a long time.
Yeah.
So glad that he's started to write.
Very
My voice
excited
is starting to go.
Yeah.
We've been talking a long time.
Supposed to take the wife on a date. My wife, not yours.
Right on. Okay, guys, we better cut and run. Oh gosh, more comments. Either of you looking forward to Amazon's
comments.
production of a Watt series?
Yes,
absolutely.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Filming starts in September. I want to say
Ish,
filming
yeah,
starts in
something like
September this fall sometime, and so it'll be a while before we see it. I kind of want to sneak in a reread of Watt between other books that we're reading here, so that I can kind of cement my own version of it before I see it on screen.
Yeah.
Because whether it's good or bad, this adaptation is going to change everything. So
it's been a long time since I Have the World, so
unless although I will say it, if it's like Shannara was so bad.
Oh my gosh.
That it doesn't have any effect on how I visualize the books themselves.
Right.
Like The Lord of the Rings, I struggle sometimes to separate the book and the movie, and because the movie was so good.
Yeah, it was epic.
Anyway, so yeah, hopefully it's good. Hopefully it's good enough that it ruins the books. Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
So anyway, okay. Dominic says, "Have a good weekend." Finally, somebody's giving us permission to leave. This is fantastic. So thank you everybody for watching. I will release the second episode of our
Night Angel.
Discussion on
Way of
Monday.
Shadows.
I think it's coming out on
Right.
Monday. So
it's book 1, The Way of Shadows.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's coming out. We've got an author guest. I'll be very interested to see to hear what you guys think about this guest. And let's see, are the upcoming week's episodes all going to be 2-parters? Yes. These ones, we're tackling them Wheel of Time style, where we read the entire book and then we tape both discussions back to back in one sitting. And that is how we're planning to do all 3 of those. I don't know about Lightbringer, but I imagine, yes, again, that would be the same, because I know that's how Ryan and I both prefer to do it. And since it's a red team thing, that's probably how we'll do it.
I think that's also the way we're planning on tackling the last 2 episodes of Doom, is by reading the entire book, recording 2 episodes back to back. So,
yep. Cool. Lightbringer, yes, Lightbringer.
Lightbringer after The Way of Shadows.
Cool.
Or after Night Angel, I mean. For red team,
break out your copies of the Silmarillion. That one's coming up again. We're just doing 1 chapter. Again, we're doing the Turambar chapter. That's coming. Anything else?
If you're following along the Dresden Files, expect to see Summer Night somewhere probably after the second Doom book and before Children of Doom. I don't remember what the third Doom book is called. But we expect us to slip in a Dresden book, Blue Team to slip in a Dresden book between the 2 Doom books we have left.
Yep. Cool. And I can't forget. If you have not yet done so, subscribe to the weekly newsletter. I'm going to try to do a weekly newsletter. Hit the legendarypodcast.com, go to the subscribe tab, and you can enter your email address for the weekly newsletter. I'm going to try to stay on top of that. This last week, so what I've been doing is I wrote an essay, and then I kind of gave you the first quarter of it and then put the rest on Patreon. But that Patreon post will go public after 1 week. So you get early access if you're a patron, but you'll eventually get to read it even if you're not. So subscribe to that newsletter, and it'll tell you kind of what's coming up in the next little while. That's where I announced this cast that we're doing. And I'll probably put a section up in future newsletters where I tell you what's coming up week after week. Anyway, that should do it.
I think that's better.
I think that's it. Support us on Patreon, all that stuff.
You know the drill.
Yeah, and tell your friends. Please tell your friends. And if you haven't done so, go on iTunes and leave a review. That is it. Ken, say goodbye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. All right. Thanks, guys. See you later.